Hi, I'm Frank Gravis, and you're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you today from the 2017 Winter NAMM Show, Anaheim, California, with our old friend Frank Gravis. Hey Frank.
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing?
Doing great. It's good to see you. You know, I often think back, especially when I see you. There was a concert I went to in Palm Beach, Florida in 1984. And first there was a local guy, but a pretty well renowned guy, Randy Bernson. Had an album called Music for People, Planets, and Washing Machines. And Herbie Mann was on that concert, and Gatto Barbieri and Ramsey Lewis with Bill Dickens, who absolutely scared me to death. But the reason I bring that up, and you know why, the bass player for Herbie Mann was Frank Gravis. That was you.
That was me. Oh, that was Herbie was like one of the best band leaders I ever worked for. He really knew how to bring the best out of everything.
I feel like you're getting farther away from me,
I
Frank.
am.
Do I have bad breath? Or?
No, what's happened, as I was saying, Herbie Mann was, of all the people I've worked for, he's probably one of the best band leaders I've ever worked for, because he really knew how to bring like the best out in you and make you feel like playing your best all the time. You know, he set it up to where, you know, it was always so spontaneous and so unrehearsed that we never knew what we were going to play. He never told us, and it was great. And I played all the time I played with him. It was that way. We just would go on stage and just wing it. And what fun it was.
He's gone, but thank goodness he left us those recordings that we can continue to listen to and enjoy. Well, I would imagine you got to Florida somehow through your University of Miami, but even before that, you started out in Texas, right? Isn't that where you're from?
I'm originally from San Antonio.
I've been there.
Beautiful city, actually. No, I went to the University of Miami from San Antonio, and that's where I met Hiram Bullock. And Hiram and I became instant friends because I liked the way he played, and he kind of liked what I did.
Was he wearing shoes when you met him? Wasn't that kind of his trademark? He was in barefoot.
Well, that actually comes from none of us wore shoes in Florida. We all wore flip-flops, but
no, he would be barefoot, even on the Letterman show, barefoot.
I remember it well. But no, Hiram and I stayed in contact over the years, and after he went to New York a year before I did, and then I went a year later and became a studio musician. And
so around what year would that have
was
been?
1977. Okay. And then after I started out there, then I was recommended to do the Herbie Mann gig, which was a great experience for me because I really learned how to be a professional bass player at that time.
Let's back up a little bit first, though, because I interviewed Andy Timmons the other day for our guitar site, which is called forguitarplayersonly.com, and we were talking about, we know each other from the University of Miami, so we were talking about all the people that were there when we went there. It was Steve Bailey was there, and who else? Mike Abbott and all the guys from the Miami Sound Machine and Tim Mitchell and a whole bunch of others. Now you were there during another very cool generation. Was Mark Egan there? Was Will Lee there? Was Pat Metheny there?
Will Lee's father was the dean of the music.
Bill Lee, I remember him well. Very nice man. He's gone too.
Yeah, unfortunately. Let's see. When I was there, Hiram, of course, was there. There was.
Was Jaco teaching there at the time?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That was the first semester I was there was the one and only semester that Jaco taught. And
give us a story. Just give us one story.
I'll give you one story. Jaco basically was not a great teacher because it was because he was young and didn't want to teach. This was way before he had become famous or he had had a chance to really play with his musical peers. So he basically took the job because he needed a gig. So I met him under that circumstance, and it was a little uncomfortable because he didn't want to teach. Really didn't want to teach. He wanted to get out and play, and so he was sort of a begrudging teacher. And it was like, I'll give you one example. One time, I'll never forget, he said, "You'll never get any better by practicing. The only way to get better is to watch television." And at that point, I thought to myself, well, man, I could have saved my parents a whole lot of money if I'd have known this beforehand. But see, what he didn't tell me is, during that era, which was 1974 through 76, there were a lot of jazz musicians that were writing for television. Chief among them was Oliver Nelson, and he wrote great music for TV. Yep. Of course, Jaco didn't give me that part of the information. He just only said, "You'll never get any better by doing anything else other than watching television," which tells me that, he kind of didn't want to teach me how to play bass, which is what I went there to learn. But fortunately, at that time, there was so much work in Miami. Yeah. That I basically learned how to play just by doing work, just doing gigs 6 nights a week while I was in college.
We probably have a lot of people in common we worked with. But who were some of the other students? I mentioned Mark Egan. Was he there at the time?
Yeah, he was. As I'm speaking to you, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones.
What about Pat Metheny? Was he already gone by then?
Mark and Danny Pat and Mark had gone. The first semester I was there, Danny Gottlieb was there. And then, of course, I'm trying to think of it. Bruce Hornsby he was in school at the same time we were, and he, of course, went on to great success after that. And there were a bunch of guys that got into jingle writing and got into other aspects of music other than performance that we all went to school with, that are still doing it today.
Yeah,
it was a great music school.
Yeah,
I
have great memories of that place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Still keep in contact with some of the folks. So, what's keeping you busy today, Frank?
Well, these days I'm just freelancing around. I live in the New York City area, and I've been in New York since 1977, and I don't know. I just answer the phone, and hope it rings.
Yes, well. Tell me about your equipment.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
We are at the NAMM show, after all.
We are at the NAMM show. Of course, we're at the Mark Bass booth. I've been with Mark Bass since 1997, and I've been with them a very long time. They make the best bass amp in the world, for my money. My basses are by ESP. They also have been very, very good to me, and also make wonderful, wonderful instruments. But third and chief among them is D'Addario, my very favorite string that I've been using religiously since 1971. Wow. That's a long time.
Why have you stuck with D'Addario for so many years?
And I'll tell you, it's very simple. They're the best. No other string sounds better. None of them. And I've tried them all, and there's some that are pretty good, but none of them have the whole total package like D'Addario's. I use EXL 170s on all my basses, except I have a Precision that I have the light gauge chromes on, the flat wounds, and they're all great. And also on my acoustic bass, I use Helicores. I'll use the Helicore Pizzicato light gauge, and they're the best bass strings I ever put on my acoustic bass. Totally transformed it to I used to use other brands, but no more. All my instruments get D'Addario, and I'm very proud to say that.
How about the future, Frank? What else is coming up, or what else would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh my gosh.
If you have a short list.
Anything. Let me tell you, I just love to play the bass. I love playing music. It's what I do for my life and my living. And so far life has been a series of surprises, and including my appearance at the NAMM show this year, and one that I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be here, by the way.
Well, I'm happy you're here too, because
listen, whatever happens in the future, I don't make these kinds of predictions, because every one I've made has been wrong. So I'm just looking forward to a bright future. Let me put it that way.
Okay, well, let me ask you one more question
Sure,
then.
John.
What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
It wouldn't be outside of music. If I didn't play bass, I would play a Hammond B3.
Do you have any interests outside of music?
Yeah, I write songs, but that's music. But that doesn't play.
I asked Ed Friedland that question. He said I'd be a drummer.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, music for me is like my life, and it's an all-encompassing thing. That's what I do.
Well, keep doing what you're doing and keep making music, and we'll continue to enjoy
Thank
it.
you, John. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Frank Gravis, it's an honor. Thank you for. Glad we bumped into each other the other day and got this chance to get together and catch up after so many years.
Yes, indeed.
At the 2017 Winter NAMM show with our good friend Frank Gravis. I'm John Leapman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. You sure are.